Return with a different face. Cold CEO's ex-lover pretended to be assistant to save his life. Adrian, the cold CEO, thought he had lost the girl he loved forever. But a mysterious assistant suddenly appeared, with a different face but a familiar heart. She deliberately approached him, accepting the lie to protect him from the enemy's plot to harm him. Between love, betrayal, and shocking secrets, which truth will save or destroy both? Party at Crystal Hall Hotel. The sound of glasses clinking, the soft jazz music under the luxurious yellow lights. Adrian Cross was chatting with a few partners when suddenly a female voice rang out nearby, not loud but familiar enough to make him pause. "I'm sorry, sir, but I really can't do that." Adrian's heart clenched. This voice was too similar to Lily, the girl who used to be everything to him, then disappeared without a word. Without thinking, he quickly walked towards the sound. In the middle of the buffet area, he saw a girl in a waitress uniform being pressed against the wall by a middle-aged man. The man smirked, his hand tightly holding her wrist. "Just a glass of wine. You're this beautiful. Why bother having a drink with me?" The girl pulled away, her eyes flashing with vigilance. Adrian stepped forward without saying a word, grabbed the man's wrist, pulled it away, and stood in front of her. His voice was as cold as steel. "Let go! Now!" The man paused, intending to argue, but when he met Adrian's eyes, he immediately fell silent. He left angrily. Adrian turned around, intending to say, "Lily?" But when he saw her face clearly, he was stunned. It wasn't Lily. This girl had a round face, big but timid eyes, white skin but with freckles. There was no arrogance like Lily's, only clumsiness and simplicity. She bowed her head, her voice low. "Thank you. I apologize if I disturbed you." Adrian frowned slightly, but somehow still stood in her way until the restaurant manager hurriedly ran over, apologized, and pulled Maya away. Amidst the music and lights, Adrian still stood there, with an inexplicable feeling of unease, as if the thread of fate had just drawn him closer to a complete stranger. Ku vuan fia sau hach san an, jen vang hat len, nong tan la rong he trong giojem. Adrian hal jong mot min kantalan kanja, jien twai ap chat ben tai. Giong kua trolin han suvang len gab gab, ngai hale. Troli kuangai, ku kendal, vuagui email shin ngiviex vajambai ranokan guai. Koai noi se kong kwai lai. Ngai mai ai se trin by duan voi Orion group jai. Adrian kaumai, te siet chat jien thoai. Gui toan butai lieo shotoi, toi se tu ti mengoi thai the. Kuak goiket thuts an van jung yen, suitin. Chikon chua J20 quartieng trok boy gap mat quan trong, mat ngoi chuan bichin lamot ku jan tang vao tien jo. Tieng buak chan he vang len fia sao, an kwai lai, la ko gai fuk vukinai. Maya Evans, te kam kaili trong, an mat dudun hung van tien lai gan. Ngai hale, toi biet chuyen nai ko the hoi juong jot, nhung. Toi nang he lo ang thoang kwang li noe ngai jang kanang goi hotro. Adrian heomat, va kongi min lam juok. Maya kegat giong bintin. Toi tung hok mod shoot vekinta, kung biet kash jok tai liu va sapsep noidong koban. Niun ngai kan. Toi ko de tugyub. Koin ha jetra on vi kinai ngai jangiub toi. Adrian himlang vai giai, anchmat duk si tu jau jen shan, niu jang san hak gyua rui rova truggiak, koi kung an jap. Ngai mai, si gio sang van fong Hale Corporation. Ne ko jen muan mot foot. Ti koin hiu chua tung kok wak noi suyen nai. Maya ke mim kwai, gadjau rui kwaiji. Kon Adrian, kin hin theo bong kokwat dan. Trong long bong de len mot kam gias moho, nu the an vua kio mot nguoik salavao kun bao chua biet hoiket. The next morning, Hale Corporation headquarters. The clock struck 7 o'clock, the conference room door opened. Maya walked in, her hair neatly tied in a bun, along with a simple white shirt and dark trousers. Adrian did not respond, only motioning for her to sit down on the chair next to him. A few minutes later, the door opened again. The representative of Orion Group entered. A quick handshake followed, and then everyone took their seats. Adrian briefly introduced himself. "This is Maya Evans, my temporary assistant. She will present the proposal today." All eyes suddenly turned to Maya. She took a deep breath, stepping up to the podium. Her fingers trembled slightly as she flipped the first slide, but her voice was unusually firm. "Hello. Today, I would like to present the Strategic Cooperation Project between Hale Corporation and Orion Group." Maya spoke coherently, explaining each figure with clear examples. The charts and market trend analysis she added last night made the presentation much more vivid and understandable. Adrian sat silently, his eyes glued to her because her presentation style was so personable. When Maya finished, the conference room erupted with nods and compliments. The representative of Orion Group smiled. "Miss Evans, your presentation was very impressive. We will consider this proposal seriously." Adrian stood up, shook hands with his partner, but his eyes did not leave Maya. For the first time in years, he felt a spark of genuine curiosity, and even a little interest. The meeting ended. The sound of footsteps and the door closing left the conference room in silence. Adrian was still standing by the table, his eyes following Maya as she packed up her laptop and documents. He was silent for a few seconds, then suddenly asked, his voice low, "Do you know someone named Lily Hammond?" Maya was momentarily stunned. The fingertips holding the file tightened slightly, but after a breath she raised her head, her eyes calm. "No, I've never met anyone by that name." Adrian looked at her intently, as if he wanted to see every little reaction. But Maya still stood there, her expression unruffled. He leaned forward, resting his hands on the table, his voice becoming more serious. "Miss Evans, you saved this whole meeting today. I want you to come back and be my permanent assistant." Maya frowned slightly, put her laptop in her bag. Her voice sounded a bit warning. "I'm just a waitress, so maybe this time I was just lucky. Are you sure?" He curled his lips slightly, his eyes never leaving her. "I don't believe in luck, Maya. I only believe in ability, and you just proved that to me." A short silence passed. Maya closed her laptop bag, stood up straight, facing him. "If I agree, then I hope you understand. I'm not the type of assistant who only knows how to nod and obey orders." Adrian leaned back slightly, his eyes shining with a hard-to-conceal interest. "Good. I don't need an assistant who only knows how to nod." After speaking, he left the table, walked towards the door, his voice echoing firmly. "Starting tomorrow, 8 a.m., my room." Maya let out a soft breath, watching his figure disappear. In the depths of her eyes, a trace of hesitation flashed, but then quickly disappeared. Maya stepped out of the Hale Corporation building, crossing the parking lot, her eyes darting around as if to make sure no one was following her. A black sedan was parked in a hidden corner, its windows dark. She quietly pulled open the passenger door and climbed in. Inside, the man in the driver's seat turned around, his eyes cold. It was Daniel Graves, the representative of Orion Group who had attended the meeting this morning. He smiled faintly, but his voice was like a knife cutting into her skin. "Long time no see. Lily Hammond." Maya, or rather Lily, paused. Her hand tightened on the strap of her bag, but she said nothing. Daniel leaned back in his chair, his eyes searching. "You did a great job on your presentation, but don't forget why you're here." She looked straight out the window, her voice dry. "I know, just promise to keep things peaceful." Daniel chuckled. "Very good, don't forget our deal." Maya opened the door and got out of the car. The morning wind blew in, causing her shirt to flutter slightly. The sedan slowly drove away, leaving behind a faint smell of gasoline. Hale Corporation, 8:59 a.m. The elevator door opened. Maya almost rushed out, one hand holding her bag, the other holding the documents that were about to fall. She was panting, her hair a little messy, her cheeks red from running. As soon as she entered the work area, a cold voice rang out behind her. "Ms. Evans." Maya paused. Adrian was standing in front of the conference room door, holding his familiar stopwatch. "Working hours start at 9 to you, and here, 8:59 is not considered punctual. She took a deep breath, trying to catch her breath, then smiled faintly. "Just a minute, I still have time to work." Adrian's eyes grew colder. Rules are rules. I don't want any employees to think that just being almost on time is enough. Maya shrugged, her voice tinged with a bit of challenge. Rules must have exceptions. Who dares to come early if even 1 minute is considered late? The nearby staff held their breath. Adrian was silent for a few seconds, then walked straight into the office, leaving behind a short sentence. "This is not a matter for bargaining, Ms. Evans. Hale Corporation CEO's office." The door opened slightly. Maya walked in, holding a small wooden tray. "Here's your coffee, Mr. Hale." She put the cup down on the table, her voice soft. Adrian had just finished signing a document, looked up and nodded slightly. He picked up the cup, took a sip, and stopped immediately. His eyes narrowed slightly. "Evans." "Huh?" Maya raised her head, unconsciously leaning slightly towards him. "My coffee never has milk." Adrian put the cup down on the table, his voice low and cold. Maya blinked, as if she had just realized she had made a mistake. "Oh, I thought you would like a milder taste. At the shop downstairs, they said this was the most popular—" Adrian did not answer, just put the cup of coffee aside. He opened the drawer, pulled out a thick stack of documents, and placed it in front of her. "Please arrange all these files in date order with the classification of partners. When you're done, put them on my desk." "Right now?" Maya asked again, her voice still polite but a little slow. "Right now." Adrian didn't look up, his hand already flipping to the next document. Maya hugged the documents, nodded slightly, then backed out, closing the door gently behind her. A flash of thought flashed through her eyes, but disappeared before anyone could notice. Adrian sat at the small conference table next to him, flipping through the documents that Maya had just finished arranging and placed neatly on his desk a few minutes ago. A few seconds later, he paused. "Evans." His voice dropped. The door opened and Maya poked her head in. "Yes?" Adrian picked up 2 files and held them out in front of her. "You told me this was arranged in date order?" Maya stepped forward, tilting her head slightly to look. "Yes, right?" She blinked, her voice hesitant. He flipped them over for her to see. The September files were sandwiched between November, and the new contract was clipped together with the minutes from 3 years ago. Maya bit her lip and looked down. "Maybe I read the label wrong." Adrian took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. "Evans, there's no room for mistakes here." He fidgeted. "It's almost time for the meeting, so I'll sort these documents myself." Maya pursed her lips, took a step back, but then as if suddenly thinking of something, she spoke up. "Then, let me make up for this mistake. Can I assist you in the meeting? Even though I arranged it wrong, I also reviewed the content of the document this time." Adrian raised his head, his eyes quickly scanning her face, as if to judge whether this was a clumsy excuse or genuine goodwill. "You reviewed it?" he emphasized. "Yes. I remember some of the figures and suggestions in it. If necessary, I can help you present it," Maya said, her voice full of confidence, but her eyes still kept the reserved look of a newcomer. Adrian was silent for a few seconds, then nodded slightly. "Okay, but Evans, if you plan to sit in my meeting, make sure there are no more mistakes this time." Maya smiled slightly, nodded. "Don't worry." She turned away and walked out, her hand still clutching the notebook, an unreadable expression appearing at the corner of her lips. Adrian and Maya walked into the conference room where the partners and the board of directors were sitting. He leaned over to remind her, "Remember to be careful with your words later." Maya nodded obediently, showing that she had listened to what he said. He began to open the slide presentation of the project. As stated in the previous meeting, the revenue forecast for the next quarter will be an increase of about 15% compared to the same period last year. Maya's voice rang out, interrupting. The entire conference room paused. Adrian slowly turned to look at her. Maya smiled, continuing, "Sorry, I think that number will help everyone visualize it better." A few people nodded slightly, but Adrian only responded with cold eyes. He continued to present, this time trying to keep the flow of his speech. When the partner asked about the production cost, Adrian was about to flip through the document when Maya quickly said, "About 1.8 million including shipping costs. But if we apply the new proposal, it will be reduced by nearly $200,000. A few eyes from the partner looked at Maya, looking impressed. But Adrian gently clenched his pen, interrupting. "Thank you, Evans. Let me explain that part." He flipped through the document, but only a few minutes later, Maya added another comment, this time a little off topic. "And of course, our market share in Europe has increased to 12%. A partner member frowned. "Sorry, I remember it was 8%? Maya paused, smiling awkwardly. Yes, it was 8%. I got the number wrong." Adrian stopped his presentation, his gaze fixed on her, cold enough to silence the entire room. But since he was in front of his partner, he just said, "We'll fix this information later." The atmosphere in the meeting room suddenly became heavier, and Maya sat up straight, pretending to take notes attentively, as if nothing had happened. The door closed. Adrian's footsteps echoed slowly. He stood behind the desk, his hands on the table, his eyes cold. "Evans, come here." Maya stepped in, carefully closing the door. "Yes, sir." Her voice was soft, but not exactly timid. Adrian looked straight at her. "Do you know what you did in the meeting today?" "Yes," Maya replied, her voice calm to the point of annoyance. "I just wanted to help your presentation come alive." "Help?" He raised his eyebrows. "Interrupting me, giving false information to partners. Is that called helping?" Maya shrugged slightly, her eyes downcast. "Maybe I'm not suitable for this job." The sentence made Adrian pause a bit. He realized that she was almost paving the way for elimination. But instead of immediately agreeing, he said coldly, "Maybe, but I don't fire employees just because of a few mistakes. From tomorrow, you will follow me to relearn how to work." Maya pursed her lips, bowed her head slightly, but a flash of disappointment flashed in her eyes, because the plan was blocked. Adrian sat alone in his office, the sunset streaming through the large glass windows onto his face. Images from this morning's meeting flashed back to him, Maya interrupting him, interjecting figures that weren't in the official documents, and her eyes as she left, as if she was hiding something. He tapped his fingers slowly on the table. "Evans," Adrian muttered, his voice soft but sharp. There was a knock on the door. "Come in." Lucas, the head of security, entered. "You need me." Adrian stood up, walked over to the window, his hands in his pockets. "I want you to send someone to discreetly follow Maya Evans," without her noticing. Lucas was a little surprised. "You suspect her?" "There's not enough evidence," Adrian replied, his eyes still on the street below. "But I don't believe in accidents repeatedly. I need to know what she does after work." Lucas nodded. "Understood. I will report everything to you." As the door closed, Adrian remained still. A clear premonition arose in his mind that Maya Evans was more than just a new employee, and that the connection between her and his past was slowly becoming clear. Basement parking lot. 8 p.m. Maya walked quickly through the dark row of cars, her heels echoing in the cold space. She stopped in front of a familiar black sedan. Without knocking or saying hello, Maya quietly opened the passenger door and got in. Daniel Graves was sitting in the driver's seat, turning the key lightly, his eyes as sharp as a knife glaring at her. 10 minutes late." His voice was low and cold. Maya kept quiet, placing her bag on her lap. "How's it going?" Daniel asked, his fingers tapping slowly on the steering wheel. She took a breath and replied softly, "He doesn't seem very happy with me." She continued, a little guilty, "I'm not good at winning people over." Daniel leaned over, his eyes darkening. "Listen, Lily Hammond." He emphasized the real name, causing Maya to squeeze his hand. "You have to work more carefully. I want you to gain Adrian Hale's absolute trust. Otherwise—" Daniel gave a faint smile, but his eyes were full of threats. "The hospital where the girl is being treated is under my control. You know what will happen if I give orders, right?" Maya pursed her lips. Her hand on her handbag trembled, but she still tried to keep her voice calm. "Don't touch my sister. I will do exactly what you want." Daniel nodded, starting the car. Good. And remember, the more Adrian trusts you, the more satisfied I am. Don't make me say it again next time. Maya opened the door and stepped out, the car lights illuminating her freckled face, but deep in her eyes was a silent storm. The next morning, Adrian Hale's office. Adrian had just entered, preparing to put his briefcase on the table when, "Good morning, Mr. Hale." Maya's voice rang out from the assistant's desk. She had been there for a while, her hair neatly tied up, a steaming cup of black coffee on the table, just the kind he liked. He frowned slightly, glanced at his watch. It was only 7:20. "You're here early?" His voice sounded as if he couldn't believe his eyes. Maya smiled slightly. "I think I should start the day earlier so I can prepare everything for you." Adrian nodded slightly, put his briefcase down, and sat down on the chair. The coffee was delicious, just the way he liked it. He was pleased and handed her a new set of documents. "This is the report that needs to be rearranged. I hope you do well this time." Maya took the file with both hands, her eyes quickly scanning the bold titles. "Yes, I will finish it before the meeting." Her voice was even and steady. Adrian said nothing, but until she left the office, his eyes followed her longer than usual. The office door opened with a soft knock. Adrian looked up, and this time it was not the usual, hurried, confused Maya. She walked in with a steady gait, holding a thick, dark blue file in her hand, neatly clipped with a silver clip. "The report is ready, Mr. Hale." Her voice was calm, neither fast nor slow. She walked to the table, placed the file in front of him, and pushed it towards him as an affirmation. "I did it right." Adrian pulled the file back, flipped through a few pages. His fingers stopped at the sections with careful notes in blue ink. The handwriting was neat. Each number matched the original data. Not a single mistake. He looked up, his eyes scrutinizing. "This time, you did very well." The corner of Maya's lips twitched slightly, as if a smile had not yet formed. Then, "Can I go out and prepare for the meeting?" Adrian leaned back in his chair, still watching her as she turned and walked out, the door closing behind her. Time passed slowly. The clumsy Maya Evans on the first day turned into a serious and dedicated person at work. She completed everything, making Adrian Hale's work easier. He gradually trusted her to take charge of more projects. Adrian sat pensively at his desk, his fingers tapping lightly on the wooden tabletop in a slow rhythm. The light from the window made the contours of his face even sharper. A knock sounded on the door. "Come in." His voice was even, but contained a bit of tension. Lucas, his close assistant and the person he assigned to monitor Maya, entered, closing the door behind him. He walked forward, placing a thin file on Adrian's desk. "Report on Evans, sir," Lucas said briefly. Adrian opened the file, his eyes skimming over the pages. Every day, every hour, Maya came and left the company, the contacts, even the coffee shops she visited. There was nothing unusual. Lucas continued. "In the past 3 weeks, there has been no suspicious behavior. She only moves between home and the company, occasionally buys groceries or goes to a small bookstore near the center." Adrian looked up, his eyes slightly narrowed. "Are you sure? No secret meetings, no signs of unusual?" Lucas nodded. "Definitely. If there were, I would have reported it to you immediately." Adrian fell silent, leaning back in his chair. Part of him felt relieved, but another part of him felt incredulous. He felt that something about Maya Evans didn't fit, like a picture missing an important piece. He closed the file, his voice low. "Continue to monitor. If there are any changes, report immediately." Lucas nodded, quietly leaving the room, leaving Adrian alone with his endless thoughts. Late afternoon. It started to rain lightly. Maya stood on the sidewalk in front of the Hale Corporation headquarters, clutching her bag tightly, waiting for a taxi that never came. The street was crowded, cars lined up, honking loudly. A screech of brakes sounded beside her. Adrian's shiny black sedan stopped close to the sidewalk. The window rolled down, his eyes appearing behind the frosted glass. "Get in. It's raining." Maya hesitated for a moment, but with the heavy rain, she opened the door and sat in the passenger seat. The familiar scent of leather and coffee wafted through the air. Suddenly, Adrian spoke, his voice lower than usual. "You know, your figure and the way you talk, it's very similar to someone I used to know." Maya felt a little guilty. She tried to appear calm and asked, "Is that the Lily Hammond you mentioned the other day?" He nodded slightly, his eyes looking straight ahead. "That's right, she's my girlfriend, who went missing a year ago." He sighed, sharing, "She went out and suddenly had a car accident. Her car crashed into the river at night. The car was found, but the person—" The words fell silent in the narrow space of the car. Maya gently tightened her bag strap, her eyes looking out the window, hiding the fleeting wave of emotion. Adrian continued, almost talking to himself. "When I first saw you, I couldn't help but remember her." Maya pursed her lips, trying to keep her voice calm. "It must be just a coincidence." Adrian didn't answer, just drove silently. The distance continued like that until they reached the old apartment building below Maya's house. That night, Maya's apartment. Maya had just entered, taking off her rain-soaked shoes when her phone vibrated in her pocket. The screen displayed an unfamiliar number, but she knew who it was. She hesitated for a second, then pressed answer. Daniel Graves's voice rang out, cold as steel. "How many days has it been, Lily Hammond? What have you learned about Adrian Hale?" Maya closed her eyes slightly, trying to keep her voice calm. Nothing important. He's wary of me." Daniel laughed coldly, his laughter hissing through his teeth. "Not important? I'm not paying and protecting your sister to hear that." Maya clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms. "What do you want?" "It's very simple." His voice dropped, emphasizing each word. "You will prepare a fake document, making everyone believe that Adrian bribed the Orion Board of Directors to approve terms favorable to Hale. I will take care of releasing it in time." Maya was stunned. That is a crime that could completely destroy him. "And if you refuse," he paused, his voice like a cold knife, "I cannot guarantee your sister's safety. Understand?" For a moment, Maya's breathing became heavy. The rain outside the window was still falling, but the sound of it was now swallowed by her pounding heartbeat. "Okay," she replied softly, almost in a whisper. "I will do it." The next day, Hale Corporation office. Maya stood in front of Adrian's office door, her hands clutching the documents. She took a deep breath and knocked. "Come in," Adrian's voice rang out from inside. The door opened slightly and Maya walked in. Today she was wearing a light gray suit, her eyes more determined than usual. "Mr. Hale," she began, her voice calm, "I would like to request permission to be directly in charge of the cooperation project with Orion Group." Adrian frowned slightly, sitting up straight in his chair. "Why?" "I have studied the entire file since the beginning of the cooperation. I understand the terms and needs of both parties. In addition, I think I can help you handle the details that have often been overlooked." Maya spoke fluently, as if she had prepared in advance. He was silent for a few seconds, his eyes scrutinizing her. "You know this is the most important project of this quarter. If there are any mistakes, the price will be very high." Maya smiled slightly. "I understand, and I am willing to take responsibility." There was a long silence before Adrian nodded. "Okay, from today on you will replace me to closely follow the Orion project. Maya, I trust you very much. This is a good opportunity for you to prove your ability." Maya's heart trembled slightly. The feeling of guilt was still growing. "But I'm sorry, Adrian. I can't abandon my sister." It was dark, the warm yellow streetlights shining through the glass doors. Adrian stepped out of the elevator, the fatigue of a long day of work still weighing heavily on his shoulders. He opened the door to his apartment, and just as he put down his briefcase, "Adrian!" a small voice rang out, immediately followed by a tight hug from a small figure. He bent down, his arms embracing Eli, the little girl with soft hair and crystal-clear eyes. Ellie looked up at him, her smile bright but her eyes shining with an unconcealable longing. It had been a year since that terrible accident, A year ago, on a rainy riverside road, the motorbike lost control and plunged straight into the cold, black water. When the rescue team arrived, only Ely was found, shivering, soaked, and with panic in her eyes. Lily Hammond, her older sister, the one Adrian had once loved, had disappeared without a trace. Ely clutched his shirt tightly, asking in a whisper but full of urgency, "Have you found Lily yet?" Adrian paused. He looked into those clear eyes, then slowly shook his head. "Not yet." His voice was hoarse, but then his eyes softened. "But recently, I met someone. She made me feel very similar to Lily." Ely's eyes lit up immediately, as if the buried hope suddenly flared up again. "Really? Like, Lily? Can I meet her?" Adrian smiled slightly, his big hand gently stroking the girl's soft hair. "I think, if you meet her, you will like her too." Ely nodded repeatedly, eagerly as if she had been waiting for this moment for a long time. "So, when?" Adrian glanced at the wall clock, suddenly thinking of tomorrow's schedule. "Tomorrow, I will take you to the company. Coincidentally, I have an important meeting with Orion Group tomorrow." Ely did not notice the slight hesitation in his voice, still happily hugging him tighter. As for Adrian, deep down, he did not know if this was a wise decision or if it would open up troubles that he himself did not foresee. The next morning at the Hale Corporation building, Adrian led Ely in, her small hand tightly holding his, her eyes curiously looking around the luxurious lobby. "Where is the sister like Lily, Anan?" Ely looked up and asked, her voice full of anticipation. Adrian smiled, bent down and patted her head. "Maybe she's a bit busy. You sit and wait for me to finish the meeting, then I'll take you to see her." He led Ely to the waiting area outside the meeting room, telling the secretary to keep an eye on her. Ely obediently sat down, her legs swinging, her arms holding a beautiful pink teddy bear. Behind the glass door, Maya was in the meeting room with the management, preparing documents for an important meeting with Orion Group. No one in the room knew that. Right outside, there was a pair of young eyes eagerly waiting to see her. Adrian opened the conference room door, walking in with a calm gaze, but containing a rare warmth. He stopped beside Lily, leaned over and whispered, "Come with me after the meeting. There is someone who really wants to meet you." His voice was warm, but his eyes seemed to be examining her reaction. Lily was slightly startled. Her heart skipped a beat. The smile on her lips was stiff, unable to hide her confusion. "Is that so?" she replied, trying to keep her voice calm, even though her heart was in turmoil. She knew clearly that she did not deserve that trust, because in just a few hours, the plan she was secretly carrying out would push him into an irreparable situation, and all just because of her sister. The conference room door suddenly opened again. He walked straight to the conference table, throwing a stack of documents on the table. "Before we start, I think everyone needs to see this," Daniel said, his voice sounding like he had already won. The papers were passed around. They were all evidence that Adrian had embezzled and sabotaged the cooperation plan. Whispers began to rise. "I can't believe it. If this is true, then we have to review the agreement." Adrian shook his head, his eyes confused. "These are all fake. I have never done anything like this." His denials were drowned out by the torrent of criticism. Adrian squeezed his hand lightly, his eyes scanning the room filled with chatter, then stopping at Maya. His voice lowered, each word clear. "Maya, you are the one who prepared this project with me. Do you have anything to say?" The entire room immediately fell silent. All eyes turned to her, Adrian's closest assistant. Adrian still looked straight at her, his eyes determined, as if he wanted to hold on to the last bit of faith. But Maya's heart felt like thousands of needles were pricking her. She knew. As long as she told the truth, Daniel would immediately take action against her sister. However, if her sister saw her harming others like that, would she agree? No way. Lily stood up, determined to say everything. She shouted loudly, "Everything is fake! Daniel intentionally forced me to create fake evidence!" The room immediately became noisy. All eyes turned to Daniel. He angrily slammed the table and stood up, shouting at Lily, "Watch your words!" Lily trembled but did not back down. Her eyes were red. "I have the evidence here. He forced me. If I don't do it, he will harm my family." "All family?" Andrian frowned slightly. He had sent someone to investigate Maya's family background. She was an orphan. How could she have a family? At this moment, his phone suddenly rang with a message. It was a notification from the security team leader. "Sir, I just investigated. Miss Maya is Miss Lily who went missing a year ago." Andrian's whole body stiffened. He looked up at Maya, who was above. It turned out that was why he always felt so familiar with her. Lily took out a USB and plugged it into the computer. Everything appeared clearly on the screen. It was all Daniel's plan. Daniel slammed his hand on the table, his eyes cold as a knife. "Lily Hammond, you're courting death." His voice was low. Each word was like a warning. Immediately, Andrian stood up, not giving Daniel a chance to say more. "Don't you dare threaten her. Her sister is with me, and I won't let anyone touch her." Lily Hammond suddenly looked at Andrian. Why was her sister with him? Wasn't she being held captive by Daniel? Andrian looked at her, smiling reassuringly. Daniel slightly narrowed his eyes, his expression darkening. "Very good, Lily." "Andrian, you two are very good." Before Andrian could reply, Lily took a step forward, her voice resounding throughout the room. "You just wait. The police investigation notice will be sent directly to your house soon." Daniel was stunned. A sneer full of anger appeared on his lips. "You two just wait." After saying that, he led his group away. When everyone had left, the conference room fell silent. Only Adrian Hale and Lily Hammond remained. Without hesitation, he quickly walked over, pulled her into his arms, and hugged her tightly, as if he was afraid she would disappear again. "Lily, so you've always been here, right by my side." His voice trembled. "Ely and I have been looking for you all these years." Tears rolled down Lily's cheeks. She leaned on his shoulder, choking. "I'm sorry. At first, I intended to harm you." Andrian shook his head slightly, reaching out to wipe away the hot tears. "But in the end, I was the one who saved you." Lily suddenly squeezed his hand, her voice becoming panicked. "Ely, where is she?" Andrian's eyes flashed with panic, but then he smiled reassuringly. "She's outside. She's the one I told you about earlier." Andrian held Lily's hand and pulled her out of the conference room. The hallway was long and quiet. Each step was hurried, as if racing against time. In the director's office, Ely was waiting. When she saw Lily, Ely stopped. She was confused and looked up at Andrian and asked, "Brother Andrian, is this the person who looks like Lily that you mentioned?" Andrian bent down and placed his hand on Ely's shoulder, his voice warm but firm. "She may look a little different, but this is my sister." Ely was stunned. Her eyes shook, then seemed to burst out. Are you really Lily?" Lily nodded, tears streaming down her face. Ely rushed into her arms, hugging her tightly as if she was afraid of losing her again. "I missed you so much. I thought I would never see you again." Lily choked, stroking her hair. "I'm sorry. I'm back. From now on, I won't leave you again." Andrian stood beside him, his eyes softening, as if a long suppressed burden had been lifted. Everyone returned to Andrian's apartment. Little Ely was so tired that she fell asleep on the sofa, breathing evenly and peacefully. Only Andrian and Lily sat at the table, under the warm yellow light. Lily slowly told the story, her voice trembling slightly. Andrian listened to every word, and only then did he know the bitter truth. The accident that year was not accidental. It was Daniel's men who had set it up, aiming to bring down his company. He deliberately created the tragedy to control Lily and her sister, forcing her to obey every command. But his plan took an unexpected turn. Ely, Lily's younger sister, was saved by Andrian first. Unable to reveal any flaws, Daniel was forced to find someone else to impersonate Ely and prevent Lily from meeting her sister directly to easily deceive and control her. Outside the window, the sky had already sunk into darkness, but the city lights were still shining brightly below. Andrian squeezed Lily's hand tightly, his eyes stern but also full of warmth. "It's okay now," he said softly, his voice deep and steady. "I promise I won't let anyone hurt you again." Lily nodded slightly, and suddenly she saw Andrian take out a red velvet box. Before her surprised gaze, he knelt down on one knee. Andrian opened the box. Inside was an exquisite ring, sparkling under the yellow light shining through the glass window. "Lily," his voice was low but trembling slightly, "I wanted to do this a year ago. Now that you've come back, I only hope to protect you for the rest of my life. Will you marry me?" Lily raised her hand to cover her mouth, tears rolling down without her knowing. She looked into Andrian's eyes, determined, without hesitation, as if all the events that had happened had only led to this moment. Lily choked. "I agree." Andrian smiled, gently put the ring on her finger, then pulled her into his arms, hugging her tightly as if he never wanted to let go. What do you think of Lily and Andrian's story? Share your thoughts in the comments. On a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rate this story? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on more inspiring stories. And you can check out more great stories right here.